We have a 1-year emergency fund because I have an irrational fear of losing everything. I wish I was kidding, but I am not. Now, how did I come up with this random number? Well, let's add up how much my husband and I need to make every single month just to pay our bills in the city. Rent, $1,990, parking, $290, car insurance, $168, car payment, $740, health insurance, $210, electricity, $40, internet, $53, phone, $60, food and essentials, about $1,000. In total, that's $4,551. If we multiply that by 12, it's $54,612. Now this money sits in a high yield savings account and makes us about $200 a month. Is this a lot? Yeah. Is it excessive? Probably. But knowing that I have access to this money makes me feel a lot better. We're also a young couple and we do plan on buying property in the next couple of years, so this money will come in handy either way. And please remember that this is for 2 people and one of them has a lot of money anxiety. So your emergency fund probably doesn't need to be this much, but please don't kid yourself thinking that you don't need one. Start with 1 month and build from there.
Well, good for you. A whole year. Typically emergency funds 3 to 6 months, but having an entire year, that's awesome. Well, if you guessed it, today we're reacting to emergency funds. To have it, not to have it, how much. Anyway, if you like this content, consider subscribing. Thank you for your attention. Also, comment down below, let me know what kind of videos y'all want me to react to. Alright, back to this one. I would say having an emergency fund as a safety net in case the unexpected happens, I think it's a good idea. Now, depending on your situation, if you're single, if you're a couple, if you're married with kids, or whatever type of living situation or financial situation you're in, is going to depend, and your emergency fund amount will vary. For instance, your tolerance to risk. So in her case, she wants a 12-month, not just covering utilities or anything else, but their total cost of living on a month-to-month basis for the whole budget, food, utilities, rent, basically all their essential needs for the month are covered. I think she said it was around 52, but rough estimate, right? 50,000 for a year. That's a pretty strong emergency fund. From a banking perspective, she said she likes to keep it in a high yield savings account. To us, we see that as a high value customer. So that can, depending on if she has a private client relationship, depending on who her relationship manager is with the bank, that can open up or present other opportunities that the bank may offer her in terms of benefits for having that much in the bank. For instance, maybe entitled to certain type of checking account relationship where you get, I don't know, free checks, cashier's checks, savings account, maybe get better rates, quarter point, maybe 50 basis points more compared to average customers, again, depending on how much relationship you keep with the bank. And the reason why the bank does that is the bank, they can't give out loans without deposits. So they turn deposits into loans. Customer gives the bank the money, the bank in turn gives another customer a loan. So the bank likes this because it's stable, they can count on it, and they can lend it, they can use it. Also, I've noticed throughout the years, customers with a emergency fund, especially a high balance emergency fund, they're less likely to fall into high interest products out of desperation. And she said earlier they're doing it as a couple. And that's one of the strongest foundations you can have in a relationship, is having a strong financial footing, because in the US, typically most divorce is a result of financial woes in the relationship. Alright, well with that, let's take a look at the comments. And yes, I believe 50,000 is justifiable. There you go. Alright, 4 replies. Yes, my husband doesn't understand. I need at least a little more than 60K. Wow. Depends on where you live too, right? So if you live in a more rural area of the country, perhaps you don't need as much, just depending on the cost of living and, again, where you're at and all your expenses throughout the month. But if you live somewhere where it's expensive, San Francisco, New York, Miami, those type of areas, Dallas, Houston, is getting up there too, you're gonna need a bigger emergency fund to cover all your expenses. I spent 30K on 1 year and my bills were not that high. I work in government. I have pretty solid job security, but I'm still building my emergency fund up to 1 year. This economy has people on the edge. It's not excessive or crazy. In this economy, you need to have savings. People forget that everything can change at any moment. And I think this is smart. I agree with that comment 100%. You never know. All right, let's take a look at the next video.
Here is the only emergency fund strategy you should ever be using. And I promise no other money experts are teaching you this. And if any of this is helpful, tune into my new podcast, Your Money Guide on the Side, by clicking the link in my bio. Number 1, standard advice tells you to keep 3 to 6 months in cash or in a high yield savings account, earning, let's say, 4%. Number 2, the problem? You're not earning 4%. You're earning 3% because that money is taxed. Number 3, the solution? Put that money in a Roth IRA and place it in a risk-free money market fund that not only earns the same 4% as your high yield savings account, but keeps that 4% and allows it to compound over time. Number 4, if you have an emergency, don't worry, as you can still access those contributions, penalty and tax-free, at any time. Number 5, but here's why this is the smartest emergency fund strategy you could ever use. If you don't have an emergency, which we usually don't, you still have a risk-free investment in a Roth, only now it's earning 33% more than what you were making in your taxable emergency fund. Number 6, oh yeah, an emergency. It's that you're losing 25% of your emergency fund to taxes each year. Can I say except you're welcome? I don't
know about that last comment. I mean, since let's do round numbers. If you're putting $100,000, right, into whatever he was talking about, and he said you were losing you're not gonna lose $25,000 of $100,000. Your money is still $100,000. He's saying the interest that you can earn is out 25%, according to what he's saying. But, you know, the way they make it seem is like, oh, you stick 100,000, you're losing 25%, that's 25. No. So, again, it's to each their own, but I would definitely do your own due diligence, do your research, and make sure whatever you decide to do with the emergency fund vehicle or facility that you're going to put it into fits for your lifestyle and for your event horizon in terms of your finances. And for me, I'm not for an investment vehicle type in terms of my emergency fund, right? It's not for goals. It's strictly for unexpected, time-sensitive expenses. For instance, my fridge goes out. We have 2 fridges. We have one in the house and then we have one in the garage. We need both. I got like 6 people in the house. They eat a lot. So one of them goes out. I have an emergency fund. I'm not going to put it on a credit card. It's what I have the emergency fund for. That's what I would use it for. Washer, dryer goes out. Those type of situations. AC or heater, furnace needs fixing. That time. Part of being a homeowner. That's what I would use it for. So those are the type of things. It's not for investment vehicle types. I have my traditional IRA, my Roth 401k. I have all these other vehicles or other facilities for that purpose. But if we're talking specifically for emergency funds, to each their own, like I am, but that's not what I use mine for. All right, let's check out the comments. You're not losing 25% of your emergency fund to taxes each year. You'd be losing 25% of the interest. This is what I'm talking about. My goodness, just the way they say it. 100% correct. That was my slip in wording. Good news, point of view, okay, I'm the creator. Yeah, you gotta watch out. Yeah, you notice a lot of these shooting outside and talking. It takes a lot of focus. As you can see, he lost focus on that one. So, I don't know. Maybe record these sensitive type of educational purposes type of videos inside, or just make sure you gather your thoughts properly or edit it correctly. What if you're over the threshold to open a Roth? It's called a backdoor Roth. Open an IRA, transfer your money, then convert it to a Roth IRA as soon as it allows you to. There's an income cap to Roth IRA. 23 replies. Okay. No, there is, but I'm simply replying to the topic of this video. Another point is high yield savings won't lose money. There's always a risk with investing. Listen to the video. It's a money market fund that invests in risk-free treasuries. But he didn't say it backdoor. Lots of people don't know and get penalized for direct contributions. I would disagree. I don't like getting used to pulling money out of their retirement account. It's not a good idea to make that normal. A Roth should be for retirement. My opinion. I agree with that comment 100%. Again, different facilities for different purposes and different event horizons. The emergency fund, for me personally, that's more of a short-term time horizon, whereas a retirement account, long-term, over a year, over 5 years, over 10 years. Short-term for me, anything that can happen within a year that I need quick access to. Let's take a look at the next video.
Baby step one, save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. $1,000. When I first started doing this, I did not have that as baby step one. I had shut up and get out of debt. But then people would have an alternator blow on their car that was $350, and they didn't have any money because I told them to put everything on their debt, and they would sit there going, I'm broke and I got to get to work. Screw you, Dave, this doesn't work. And they would quit. And so I went, okay, we got to have a little bit of pad, but we can't build up a big pile of money while we got this huge pile of debt over here. That doesn't make sense either. So we're going to get just a little starter emergency fund. The humorous thing is that 30 years later, now people are saying, Dave, you need to adjust this because of inflation. It was never intended to be enough. $1,000 is not enough, and by the way, $2,000 is not enough. So it doesn't matter, because you're not going to live here for very long. This is $1,000 just to catch the little stuff so you don't lose your emotional momentum, because we're running a behavior modification program here, so emotional momentum matters. Baby.
I agree with that 100%. $1,000, especially in today's economy, probably not going to get you much in terms of actual emergency, but like Dave was talking about, it's more of building that financial habit. And then once you have that down pat and making it, transitioning it into other financial habits, that will kind of be on that step to financial freedom eventually. A couple things I want to cover from kind of banking perspective. You know, what I hear sometimes, instead of folks using their credit or their emergency fund, I'll just use my credit card. Well, you got to consider that involves probably a lot higher interest in terms of repayment. Your utilization will spike up depending on how big that purchase is. For instance, if it's like an appliance, those are not cheap. And you run the risk of not paying it off. So you do a lot of long-term damage if you didn't budget appropriately and kind of just came out of nowhere. And now you have to adjust your month-to-month expenses or outflows. So you got to make sure that's factored in moving forward. Another myth I hear is, I don't make enough to save. Kind of like Dave was saying, just it's a habit. So small, consistent, micro habits matter more than the big, inconsistent ones. So it's really just training yourself financially to make better decisions. And the last one is, I'll just start when I start making more money. The thing with this is lifestyle creeps hard compared to the income growth. So you got to take that into consideration. If you're making a bunch of money, typically you're going to want to spend more too. All right, let's take a look at the comments on this one. The people that are saying they don't make enough to even start towards saving $1,000 are the same people in line at Starbucks every other day. Facts. Again, we're talking about habits and changing them. Maybe some, not all, genuinely some people in this country do not have the ability to go to Starbucks, let alone save $1,000. My point is, you don't have to put $1,000 into an account one day, even if you can set aside $1 here, $5 there. You can set aside money here and there, but a lot of people, there'll be a time when they need that money, they cannot save it, paycheck to paycheck. Living is common. Starting the baby step one with $600 same day with the fridge broke, back to zero. Exactly what I was talking about. These things happen. But guess what? You get to start back up again. It's more on the journey. I put $50 a week in emergency fund. It actually works. Some days it grew $1,500. Some days it'll be $350. But I don't put the emergency fund on credit card, so it works. We finally saved $17,000 and are paying $1,200 to debt every month, including student loans, credit cards, and mortgage. Nice. Good for you. All right, I'll read one last one. While that sounds wonderful, and he's correct, if you're able to save $1,000, then you're good, because obviously you're not living paycheck to paycheck like 80% of the people nowadays. Yeah, we touched on earlier, it's a different economy, but at the same time, we pivot. As a people, as a culture, I think it's just been embedded in Americans to pivot, adjust, and then we move on, and then like I said, it is possible. He's made it possible. And a lot of people that are kind of his techniques and his strategies, they've made it possible too. So I understand there's challenges, but if you want something bad enough, you'll make it happen. So that's my belief anyway. Again, thank you so much for your attention. Consider subscribing, and as always, make smart moves, not just loud ones. I'll see you on the next video.